Hello everyone, welcome back. I am Fer and this is Deciphering Phyrexian. And this video, like all my videos, is brought to you by my Patreons, Otimotiosum, Matt Zweig, Daniel H. McGillivray, Marlo Brown, and Valerie Hyde. All my Patreons, thank you very much. In this video, I'm gonna teach you how to write your name in Phyrexian. But before that, let me just make a quick announcement and say that this Wednesday at 5 p.m., that is tomorrow, I'm gonna be streaming on Twitch. I'm gonna be working on the Phyrexian dictionary, so if that sounds interesting, please come join us. And if you're in the future and this already happened, well, check me out on Wednesday on Twitch anyway. Probably I'm streaming anyway. So what you are looking at here is everything we know so far about the Phyrexian writing system. There are a few things here and there we are not sure of. Some of these things might change in the future as we learn more, but I am like 98% sure that everything you see on screen right now is correct. And I know that it probably looks very complex, probably you see that there's a lot of stuff going on in the screen right now, but don't worry, it actually is a very logical writing system, and I'm gonna teach you how to use it by writing the names of my Patreons, and by the end you'll be able to write your own name. So let me begin by making here the main line. Actually, well, I'm gonna do it with one of the rulers. Takes a little bit more time, but it pays off because you actually make it straight. And first, I'm gonna write the name of, or the username of Otium Otiosum. So let me write it here just to remember. Okay, so the first thing is that in Phyrexian, and in English actually, when words start with a vowel, they actually start with a glottal stop. So let me show you what I mean. When you say apple, well, you would write it like this in English, but in the International Phonetic Alphabet, you would write it something like this. I think this is correct, or if not, it should be more or less correct. So this symbol here that looks a little bit like an interrogation marker, a question marker, it's actually the I've mentioned it in some other of my videos. Okay, so we have to start with a, well, we are not going to write apple, we are going to write otium. So actually, let me write otium in the International Phonetic Alphabet. So we begin with a glottal stop, and then an O, and then a T, otium, more or less. And then another glottal stop. Perhaps I'm not getting the vowels exactly right in the International Phonetic Alphabet, but I'm just gonna get it as closely as I can. And I'm very bad with the vowels. Vowels are my weak point. Anyway, and then another T, otiosum. Actually, yeah, it's pretty much exactly the same, except for the glottal stop. Okay, so this is phonetically what we are going to write. So we should start with a stop. Okay, let me go back to this thing here. Okay, so in Phyrexian, it actually has very few letters. It has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7 letters. That's all Phyrexian has. And you modify these 7 letters using these diacritics. So for example, to write a stop, like the glottal stop, you take this is like the basic stop, right? It's just a diagonal line. And by itself, it just sounds like a B, which is a bilabial voiced stop. And then when you add this diacritic in here, it turns into the glottal stop. Okay, so let's just write that down. Let's just write that we begin with the glottal stop. And I suspect that maybe in Phyrexian, when you write the glottal stop, you also add a little bit of a slash here. I've seen it in some examples of Phyrexian, but not in others. So yeah, that's one of my sources of doubt, but it is not a big deal. Okay, what is the next thing? And then we need an O. Okay, so we just check the vowels, and the vowel for an O is just this one. Okay, easy peasy. And then we just write the O. So we have O, and then we need a T. The T is another stop. Oh, stops are called that way because they stop the air coming from your mouth, like a T. Anyway, and so we write, so we are going to need a stop, but what kind of stop? Okay, let's go back. Well, we have here this table to understand how the diacritics work. Okay, there are more diacritics than these four, but these four are like the most important diacritics. And as you can see, they are divided in 4 categories. We have voiced, unvoiced, back, and front. So for example, the voiced sounds are the ones that make your vocal cords vibrate. Unvoiced sounds don't make your vocal cords vibrate. The back ones are done, well, with the back of your mouth, and the front ones are done something like with the front of your mouth. So let's see, right now we need the T, doesn't make your vocal cords vibrate, T. So we need an unvoiced sound, and it is somewhere at the front of your mouth. So we are going to use this. So for example, you see here with the B, we put this diacritic and it turns into the T. Excellent. Okay, so we have, and then we need, okay, and here we have a little bit of an issue because of how Phyrexian uses vowels. So as you can see, there are symbols for the main vowels. There are some sounds that there's some ambiguity here. For example, we have seen two sounds similar to A represented with these symbols. And okay, again, vowels are my weak point. But anyway, the point is that to write diphthongs, Phyrexian has its own symbols. They have special symbols for the diphthongs when you have more than one vowel together. And this is something that actually Korean does the exact same thing. But this means that if we want that we don't exactly know how in Phyrexian they would write other diphthongs, like in this case the U in otiosum. So I'm gonna do the next best thing and just write both of the vowels. Perhaps that's not how Phyrexian works exactly, but it's just one of those little details that we just have to take right now, and it's one of the things we are going to improve in the future. So this is the E, and this is the U, O, T, U, and then the M. Oh, the M is very simple. It's just a line. That's just it. It's just the M. And then we have otium, otiosum. Let me put a word separator. Yeah, so that this means this is a separate word. And then, okay, we begin again with a glottal stop. And then an O. So we already know how to do those ones. And then another T. Another E. And then an S. Okay, let's see how we write the S. So we start with this letter. By itself is just the Z. And then, okay, if you put the unvoiced front marker, it becomes into a sha. But that's not what we need right now. We just need this Z sound without voicing. S. And turns out that we have this symbol. Apparently, I think this symbol, and you can see here, whatever you put, this symbol here, no matter where you put it, it's just going to turn that sound into the unvoiced version of itself. So for example, it turns the Z into a C, and it turns, for example, V into P. But I'm not entirely sure, and there's a lot of good evidence to support that this is how it works. Okay, so otium, actually I'm running out of space. Ooh. Otium, otiosum, okay, it's gonna be a little bit close here, but well, there it is. So otium, otiosum. Excellent. Now let's write another name of my Patreons. Let's see, Matt Zweig. Let me do another one of these lines. And, let me write the name. So, okay, so we have Matt Zweig, and we are going to write it phonetically. Actually, well, I'm pronouncing Zweig as it would be pronounced in German, because I think this is German. But Matt, if I'm wrong, just let me know in the comments, and perhaps I can make a short correction. But phonetically, this would be Matt, and then Zweig, and then, yeah, Zweig. Actually, it was pretty close in the International Phonetic Alphabet to how it's written in real life. Cool. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes some words are very different in the International Phonetic Alphabet. So, but we are getting lucky right now. Okay, so we begin with an M, like before. Okay. And then ma, okay, to write the A, I always forget that one. Okay, we have two options. This is the A that we have seen in cards like Urabrask, and this is the A that appears in Jagmoth. I suspect that maybe this is closer to an O. Maybe it's like a sound between an A and an O. And perhaps it's the difference between A and O. Maybe. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm gonna use just the one from Urabrask. because that's the one I'm most sure about. So mat, and remember, we just write the stop, and then we unvoice it and to the front. Mat, and then I'm gonna put a word separator, and then Zweig. We already know how to do the Z. And okay, for the V, that's actually interesting because, okay, so this, in Phyrexian, actually, it has very few letters because it has only like a stop, a fricative, another fricative, and then these words that don't really have their own categories. But the point is that the three main letters in Phyrexian are actually these three. Well, yeah, a nasal, a stop, and a fricative. Most of words in Phyrexian are just these three. And so, for example, well, and then you modify these three letters with the diacritic. So we have this fricative for the V, and well, we can modify it with many different ways. Okay, and there's it's a little bit weird, like what's this KS doing here? And the answer is I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure that this sound is KS. But anyway, the point is that we are just going to use the V by itself, but I just want to make the point that it can be modified in many interesting ways. So mat, and I forgot. I always forget. Okay, the stop is from right to left, and the fricative is from left to right. I always forget that. Mat, Zweig, and then we have another. Actually, no. Wait. We actually have the Zweig in Mat Zweig. Well, the I has its sound symbol in Phyrexian. Okay, that's good. So let me write that. So the symbol for this diphthong, these two vowels together, is this. And then we need another kind of stop. In this case, we need to take a stop, but the G is not at the front of your mouth, it's at the back, the ga. Okay, so we are gonna send it to the back, and the ga makes your vocal cords vibrate. Okay, so we need to put this one. And in fact, if we see here, okay, here it is. A stop, sent to the back, and with voicing. Actually, that makes you wonder why isn't the K sound done something like this, for example? And the answer is, I'm not sure. That's honestly the answer. I've just seen that for the sound for K, they use it like this with a star diacritic. This star diacritic is one of the most important things to figure out, because it appears in some places and we can figure out what it's doing, but not why. Everything else is so logical, but just the star diacritic seems to come out of nowhere. Anyway, the point is that we take the stop and then we send it to the back with voicing, and that's it. Mat Zweig. And now let's write the name of another one of my Patreons. Let me first start with the line. Now I'm gonna write, Daniel H. McGillivray. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna write the whole thing. What the hell? We have Daniel H. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with the H, but we'll figure it out. Again, I'm gonna write this phonetically. Daniel, or is it like a Daniel? Daniel. I have never noticed this discrepancy. Daniel. Well, I'm gonna go with Daniel. Daniel, and then the H. Actually, well, like, what do we do with this? Well, this is actually it's just exactly the same in the International Phonetic Alphabet. The H, I'm gonna come back to this later, and McGillivray. If I understood correctly, Mac is just pronounced like this, Mac, and then we have McGillivray. Again, if this pronunciation is not correct, just tell me in the comments and I'll make a video with corrections. But anyway, so let's start with a stop, and I always forget the stop. Okay, from left to right. So we start with a stop, and let's see. The D is a stop that is at the front of your mouth, and it makes your vocal cords vibrate. D. So, okay, so we just put this diacritic here. Yes, okay, and then we put the A in Daniel. It's just, I always confuse the A and the E, because they both are short, long. But, well, this is short, long, and E is long, short. Okay, it's short, long. And then to write the N, N is a nasal, so we take the basic nasal consonant in Phyrexian and we just send it to the front. And that's it. Turns an M into an N. So this is the ni, and the E is the opposite. The ni, and well, this is one of those cases where I'm not sure how would this diphthong be written in Phyrexian, the IE, but so I'm just gonna write both vowels. The nie, this is the E, and then just the L. And the L is interesting because it's just at the symbol for the L is just a symbol for sending to the front with voicing. It is not modifying any of the basic letters. It's weird. It's just like they took the diacritic and they turned it into a letter, which is fascinating. But anyway, so we just take the L. So it's Daniel. And I'm gonna put a word separator here. And then what do we do with the H? You know what? I'm just gonna write what would be the Phyrexian equivalent to the H in English. So the H in English, like in words, for example, like hotel, it has a sound that actually, yeah, in the International Phonetic Alphabet, hotel is hotel. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. But as far as I know, okay, so this sound is a glottal fricative. So it's basically a friction that is made with your throat. Hotel. But and Phyrexian, as far as I know, doesn't have a symbol for this. For example, okay, we could take the fricative. This is the fricative. And the fricative can be sent to the back and unvoiced to produce a velar fricative. This is its sound in the International Phonetic Alphabet. So this is like a ja, like in Mexico. Actually, I think that Borinclex in Phyrexian is actually Borinclex. And Borinclex would be like the Englishization, because English doesn't have this sound. But I guess we could take, for example, this fricative as well. And given that the stop, I mean, to make the stop a glottal stop, we add this. And the this is a glottal stop, and this is a glottal fricative. So perhaps this would be the equivalent to the. So perhaps this would be this sound in the international in Phyrexian, a glottal fricative, but I can't remember ever having seen this symbol here, and I know for a fact that this one is used. So as far as I know right now, this is the closest Phyrexian equivalent to the glottal fricative, so I'm just gonna put it here. I know it was just a very long explanation to just say like, I'm gonna do this. But that's how it goes sometimes. And actually, I'm gonna make another line just for the McGillivray because it's long and otherwise it wouldn't fit. And then we have, well, the Mac, we just start with an M and then an A and then a K. And yeah, the K is one of those special cases that use the star diacritic. I don't know why, but that's what Phyrexian seems to use. So Mac and then Gillibray. I'm gonna start with a stop, and then I'm gonna send it to the back with voicing, and then I'm gonna use an E, Mac, G, and then another L, Mac, Gilly, and then the fricative. Well, this is a labiodental voiced fricative, McGilly, and then it has no modification, just like as it is with the base symbol. And then for the R, the rhotic sound, this is what they use. And it's interesting because it has a diacritic. So based on everything else we know, it probably would have a sound. It has a basis sound which is different from the R that we are using. But what could it be? It's like I'm not sure what would this symbol represent without this diacritic. Yeah, because all the other ones are voiced, and actually this is bilabial. This is just labiodental. So there seems to be a suggestion that the base symbols represent your lips somehow, or at least use the lips in most cases, with just one exception. But famously, there is no labial rhotic It's actually kind of a meme in linguistics that sound is impossible. So, well, I don't know. The point is that that's erotic. So McGillivray, and then the I. Okay, there is a special symbol for the I diphthong. So let's use that one. McGillivray. So this is Daniel H. McGillivray. Okay, now let's go with another one. Marlo Brown. Okay, so let me write it here. We have phonetically, we start with the M. So it's this is a retroflexive R. Actually, in Phyrexian, as far as I can tell, they don't use actually the retroflexive R. They use the alveolar tap. So basically, whenever I write words in Phyrexian, I'm just using the closest Phyrexian equivalent to the retroflexive R, which is just the tap. Anyway, Marlo, perhaps is like this, although it could also be Marlo, because there are, like, depending on where you grow up, there are different accents and how people would approach this thing. But I'm just gonna go with Marlo for now. But then Marlo Brown. We start with a B, and then brown, and another retroflexive R. Brown. Actually, I think that brown is like this in the International Phonetic Alphabet. Marlo Brown. But if I'm mistaken, again, just tell me and I will make a video with corrections. Okay, so we begin with the M, which is the easiest letter in Phyrexian. And then the A that we have seen before, and then, well, the Ra, which is the closest Phyrexian equivalent to the Ra, Mar, and then the L that we have seen before, which is just this diacritic but used as a letter, and then the O. I already know this one because it appears in several names like Jackmoth, Borinclex, so for me this one is easy to remember, and then the U, which I remember because it appears in Urabrask. So this is Marlo, word separator, and then the Brown, and the P. So this have a voice bilabial stop, and then another R, and then the A, and then another U, brown, and then the M, but then we send it to the front with voicing to turn it into an N. There it is, Marlo Brown. And now for the last one, or at least for the last of my Patreons, Valerie Hyde. So we have to begin with the labiodental fricative, and this is not what I'm looking for. Where is it? Okay, here. For the labiodental fricative, goes from left to right. Left to right. Okay, I know. First, write the name, Valerie Hyde, and then I'm gonna write it phonetically. I think this would be like Valerie Hyde, and then yeah, Hyde. So Valerie Hyde. This one actually looks surprisingly weird, written in the International Phonetic Alphabet. But anyway, so we began with the labiodental fricative, and then the A, and then the L, and then the R, and finally the E. So that's Valerie. And then, well, again, Phyrexian might have a way to represent the glottal fricative, but I'm not sure, so I'm gonna use the velar fricative, which is written like this, because we just take the fricative and then we send it to the back and without voicing, ha. And for the I, it has its own symbol in Phyrexian, hide, and then we have a stop, the B, but then we send it to the front and with voicing, hide. So that's it, Valerie Hyde. And finally, as a bonus, here I have 3 more names. Richard for Richard Garfield, the inventor of Magic the Gathering. Here it is. Mark for Mark Rosewater, one of the lead designers of Magic the Gathering and responsible for a lot of cool things on this game over the years. And finally, Gavin Berhe, which is a newer part of the team, but he has a very active YouTube channel where he talks about Magic, and he's also really cool. So here are their 3 names written in Phyrexian. And actually, this is very funny. When I wanted to write Richard, I was like, oh no, I don't know how to write this sound, which is the palatal unvoiced affricate, I think is the name. But then I had a revelation. Like, I hadn't figured this out until I was making this video, literally. In Jingitaxias, we have this symbol, like this, right? And Jingitaxias starts with this sound, like this G. But then it hit me. If we just unvoice it, it is just that, like, well, it's the unvoiced version of these two sounds. The unvoiced version of the D is the T. The unvoiced version of the J is the sh. So it becomes like this. And in fact, this appears in this symbol here appears in the card for Eleshnorn Grand Cenobite. And actually that's part of a theory I had, but I didn't include it in the previous video, that the word Cenobite is written in the letter and is one of the few Phyrexian words which is similar to its English equivalent, would be Cenobit or something like this, or Cenobita. Yeah, I think that Cenobite in Phyrexian would be Cenobita. And so, okay, but that's something I'm gonna explore later in another video. But it just hit me. I hadn't figured it out until right now when I had to write Richard. So here it is, that sound. Anyway, and now hopefully you should be able to use this table of sounds and symbols to be able to write your own name and probably many other things. Maybe, depending on what your name is, you might find that some sounds are not here, but in that case you would have to use the closest Phyrexian equivalent. So yeah, because for example, if I want to write my name in Hawaiian, there isn't an F in Hawaiian, so it would have to be with a P. So that's something that happens. Not all languages are able to transcribe all the sounds, and so sometimes names have to be adapted between languages. And of course, keep in mind that this is our closest or best understanding right now, but our understanding will probably improve in the future. And if it changes substantially, actually, let me include this letter that we just found in here. The point is that if our understanding improves in the future, we will I will improve this table. And actually, without any diacritic, how would this sound? Because this is sending it to the front, and then this is unvoicing it. So maybe I suspect that maybe by itself it just has this sound, which would be a zh. But again, this is hypothetical. This is one of the things that we will improve as we learn more. So, well, yeah. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more, please subscribe and give me a like. And don't forget that I'm going to be streaming tomorrow at 5. And maybe consider joining my Patreon. Yeah, thanks for watching.